Our American way of life. Isn't it grand? Peace, freedom, and...
I love Fallout 3. Playing it for the first time was like discovering that the magic was inside me all along. It was a revelation of entertainment. Before this game came along, I thought video games were just glorified toys meant to distract young, impressionable audiences. Well, that's not entirely true. I was 11 years old when Fallout 3 launched. I was the young, impressionable audience eating up whatever shiny objects video games dangled before me. But it was Fallout 3 that introduced me to the idea that video games could be more than that. This game transported me to an immersive, deep, and richly detailed world where I could make a character look, act, and be anything I wanted as they navigated stories, quests, and relationships in any way that I saw fit. In short, Fallout 3 is an all-time masterpiece in my eyes. So imagine my delight when I learned that in early 2009 there would be an expansion to the game. It would be known as Operation Anchorage. It could have been called Pissball 2 Electric Poopaloo for all I cared. It was more Fallout 3. How could that not be amazing? Well, today let's find out. Let's dive into Operation Anchorage and decide if it's worth playing in 2023. Let's get started. Jumping into the game, I assume control of famed traveler Pardon My French Toast, who at the time was minding their own business at Craterside Supply. But little do they know, their virtual country needs them to liberate Anchorage, Alaska from commie invaders. Like any knowledge worth seeking, I consulted Reddit to see the recommended level to enter Operation Anchorage. The unquestioned genius of the Reddit community assures me that level 15 to 20 is needed to make the journey through the frozen hell of Alaskan warfare a smooth one. Pardon My French Toast is known for many things. Looking like Trevor Lawrence if he got his haircut by an angry wood chipper, wearing a helmet to cover up that haircut, regardless of the situation, and having questionable morals around sweet roll related matters. But one thing they're not known for is their ability to count. So with that, we're diving in at just level 6. A mysterious radio broadcast has appeared on my Pip-Boy.
This is a high priority message. Backup is needed at our location.
It's a distress call from the Brotherhood outcasts, asking for help like a bunch of weakling coward babies. I decided to heed their call and set off to join them at Bailey's Crossroad. I used the short trip to brush up on my combat skills against the riffraff of the Capital Wasteland. Mole rats were no fuss, so I took my ass kicking up a notch for some raider scum. I absolutely annihilated a raider from afar using VATS, which was all the confirmation I needed to head into the hell of war with confidence. I was greeted by Defender Moral from the Outcasts when emerging from Bailey's Metro.
You got a death wish? Walking through a war zone?
He whined about having a super mutant problem that they're struggling to overcome. A group of uglies stood between him and his homies at their little fort. Lucky for him, it was Pardon My French Toast who stumbled across him, and not some other sorry wastelander with only a fraction of my ass-destroying power. Once cleared, the outcasts finally found their manners and asked who I was and what I was doing on their turf.
Alright, local, mind explaining what you're doing here?
They showed some interest in my Pip-Boy. I told them they couldn't have it unless it came with a free bucket of bullets to their stupid faces. They backpedaled on their dumb question and offered me an audience with their leader. Rather than be taken to a secondary location with a stranger, I got distracted by the super mutants who respawned in the school we had just cleared. Okay, now I'm ready to follow the heavily armored monster men into their dank underground dungeon. On the elevator ride down, I overheard a conversation between two outcast defenders who considered sawing off my arm to get to my fancy wristwatch. The demands of their leader, Protector McGraw, meant that they couldn't. Scraw McGraw the crime dog said this facility has a highly valuable armory locked behind a door that can only be opened once a special VR program has been completed. The training program simulates the liberation of Anchorage, Alaska during the Chinese army invasion. It was one of the most critical pre-war engagements in which America took part. The training program differs significantly from your typical round of Beat Saber or whatever else you play in VR. If you perish in the simulation, the pod will induce cardiac arrest. The outcasts have been unable to do the VR simulations themselves because it requires a unique interface that they don't possess. Or they are just weakling little coward babies too scared to fight some ones and zeros. However, my fancy Pip-Boy has just the interface they need, and they can't just lop my arm off and take it because the biometric seal enables only me to use it. And they already tried that on one of the Garys from Vault 106. His cries of Gary and Gary can still be heard echoing the halls of the Outcast outpost. I'm told to see Specialist Olin, who tells me to put on a neural interface suit and hop into the chair. At this time in Bethesda's history, they really dug the idea of transporting the player to a world beyond the normal game. In Oblivion, they had the quest where you had to jump into a magical painting. In Fallout 3, the base game, there was Tranquility Lane, a simulation of a pre-war suburban neighborhood being lorded over by a psychotic man taking the form of a little girl. They continue that trend with an entire expansion in a non-post-apocalyptic world. It's a creative premise that offers the opportunity for experiences that you simply couldn't have in the standard landscape of rubble and ruin. It's just too bad a good idea was wasted on this disaster. Loading into the simulation, we meet Sergeant Benjamin Montgomery, urging us to get up after a nasty fall. Since this is wholly virtual, all of our equipment stayed behind, and we are handed everything we need to complete the program. Except for some reason my repellent stick, somehow that made the trip. I look over to the endless expanse of rocks and ice, finding myself in utter awe that anyone would dare go to a place like this. It's a beautifully rendered environment for the time, especially considering it was made specifically for this DLC. What a shame that I have zero freedom to explore any of it. Operation Anchorage is a strict, linear path that ensures you don't wander off by allowing you only two choices: go towards the objective or fall to your death. The novelty of Alaska's frozen nightmare wears off pretty fast when you are forced to experience it in just one way. Benji says our objective is to take out the massive artillery guns pounding our friendly forces. He says he'll meet me at the rendezvous spot and just fucking free climbs a cliff face like a madman. I continued on the path along the cliffside and into my first combat scenario. The starting loadout given to me by the game is a silenced 10mm pistol that I did not have the skill to use. I kept a bit of distance, maintained stealth, and absolutely whiffed every shot. Only through the helping hands of VATS could I kick off the deluge of virtual bloodshed. And I hope you like catwalks and rickety bridges because this opening section is overflowing with them. During Fallout 3 proper, you are constantly scavenging the devastated remains of the capital wasteland in search of weapons, ammo, and stim packs. Here, everything is spoon-fed to you. Weapons are just lying around, ammo and healing are dispensed at specific points by a magic machine. Felled foes will dissolve into digital dust as soon as you remove them from the burden of living. This means that your only interaction with the world and everything in it is to follow a predetermined path and mindlessly shoot whatever's in front of you. This DLC is set on turning this all-time great role-playing game into a cheap imitation of Call of Duty. When put together, everything worth loving about Fallout 3, exploring a gorgeous realized world, player choice, and building their character to approach situations however they see fit, and rich storytelling through the environment and the people within it, means that every playthrough of Fallout 3 differs because of the sheer amount of options available to the player. None of that is present in Operation Anchorage. Exploration is limited to the repeating path through snow or military building interiors. Character choice is limited to either attacking or attacking while crouched. Combat options are limited to gun, bigger gun, and pokey stick. Is your build geared toward being a silver-tongued devil who relies on wit and tact to get what they want? Too bad, here's a gun. Are you a melee build that wields a super sledge to crush enemies? Too bad, here's a dinky little trench knife. Are you looking to gain the upper hand by sneaking around, accessing new areas with science and lockpicking, and getting the drop on unsuspecting enemies? Too bad. Every path leads to the same place. Enemies who know you're coming and must be dealt with directly. An expansion focused primarily on gun combat is not necessarily a bad idea. Some players may prefer more action-packed scenarios that lets their bloodlust run free without pesky karma penalties. If only the gun mechanics were not a complete mess. I love Fallout 3, but I can't say with a straight face that shooting a gun in this game is even remotely acceptable, even for 2008. It's so stiff and unsatisfying. The sounds are tinny and hollow. The only saving grace might be that striking an enemy does have an impact on them beyond just making their health bar go down. They react to being shot depending on where they were hit and will occasionally erupt into a gore explosion when killed. Beyond that, the combat is not viscerally satisfying whatsoever. I can tolerate how bad the guns feel because it's usually just a tiny part of an infinitely more appealing package. But when you strip away everything that makes Fallout great until all that's left is its weakest component, that's how you get Operation Anchorage. Enduring multiple hours consisting only of those horrid shooting mechanics becomes a slog quick. I tried out my repellent stick on these commie bastards to see if they are the rats we think they are. They did not react much to the mole rat poison, but still they were highly susceptible to getting whacked repeatedly by a blunt object. Early on, I stumbled upon a sniper rifle, which became my chosen weapon. It's got a heavy punch, and VATS was friendly enough to make me seem almost competent. It was so effective, in fact, that I had to make sure I wasn't on the very easy difficulty. I was shredding reds despite being just level 7 now. Icy cliffs became icy caves, containing an entrance to some tunnels where I regrouped with Benji, who led me back outside.
Goddamn, this place is swarming with reds.
With branching pathways so few and far between, I took the opportunity to stray from the path and crossed a big-ass pipe over to this building. Inside was a locked door hiding a piece of intel, a terminal with an encrypted message, and a holotape. The intel was one of 10 that could be found throughout Operation Anchorage. Collecting all 10 will grant the player the Covert Ops perk, which adds 3 points to your science, small guns, and lockpick skills. How exciting. Continuing down the only other path available, the sniper fodder kept me busy as we traversed even more catwalks and rickety bridges. There appeared to be an opportunity to flank the enemies manning the bunker that blocked our way. A door opened into a cave passage that led to an area overlooking the bunker. The enemies spotted us right away. Or rather, Benji opened fire like a fucking maniac, defeating the purpose of taking the alternate route. I picked off the bad guys from a distance with my handy sniper rifle before getting in close to watch the digital light leave my enemy's eyes. The bunker had a turret inside that could be controlled via the terminal just outside the door, which is a neat way to add variety to the combat, by commanding the turret to take out the enemies for you, but the way to control it is so close to them that it was unavoidable to just shoot them myself. That could have been a viable option if it had been near the cave passage I used to flank their position. Entering the building, I navigated the facility's winding halls, desperately hoping for something interesting to discover. I was out of ammo for my sniper rifle, and without a magic dispenser nearby, I had to switch to the Gauss rifle, which is like a sniper if instead of bullets it shot blue. It's ridiculously powerful, ending these soldiers in a cloud of energized powder. Unlike ballistic weapons, it has limited ammo that doesn't get replenished at the dispensers, although plenty of microfusion cells are scattered around the dispensers, along with missiles, frag grenades, and mines. There's always a steady supply of ammo for whatever weapon you happen to equip. It's just a matter of how much of a pain in the ass you're willing to put up with, because picking up a bunch of individual microfusion cells is the worst. I tried pushing Benji off into the void, but he managed to teleport back up every time. The AI is another weak spot for the expansion. They are either hyper aware of your location with deadly accuracy, or completely oblivious, living in a state of ignorant bliss to their surroundings. The standard soldier offers such little resistance that it doesn't matter which version you get. A quick round from the sniper rifle will disintegrate anyone it touches. Benji and I, still on the warpath to dispatch the heavy artillery battering Anchorage, came to the munition storage room. The building would rumble and quake beneath a cannon firing every few seconds, which is a nice touch of ambiance. The commies threw a slight wrinkle to the situation with stealth units called Crimson Dragoons, who wear specialized suits that make them invisible. Not invisible enough though, because I spotted them immediately. Given the way that ammo and health are given to the player, it does the same thing that old school first-person shooters do, where you know shit is about to go down when there's a bunch of supplies right next to a door. In this case, we stepped outside to the first of 3 artillery cannons, and needed to plant explosives on its power box. Setting the charge, it warned me that I would need to get away before it went off, lest I face its wrath. I thought taking cover in the nearby bunker would be enough, but it was not. Then I gave the controller to my wife while I used the restroom. I didn't see what happened in real time. Looking back at the footage though, it looks like she immediately fell off the catwalk, tried to shoot poor Benji, and then set the charge before slowly backing into the cliff until it exploded. A good effort. The third time's the charm, and with the first gun taken out, I rinsed and repeated until the rest were dealt with. Fast travel is not an option in Operation Anchorage, and it doesn't need to be, because you are teleported to the next area as soon as you complete the objective. We are sent to the US Army base camp to meet General Chase, who congratulates us on a job well done.
Damn fine work you did taking out those guns.
And gives us a well-deserved field promotion for all the commie ass we just kicked. I mentioned this was a dumb simulation, and he got mad at me.
This is no simulation, soldier. That's real blood you see out there on the snow.
And I don't know if it's just me, but the dude sounds sloshed. He slurred his words like he had just downed a gallon of rum and nuka.
This is no simulation, soldier.
He fills us in on the 3 main targets we have to destroy in order to finish the mission. The Chimera fuel depot, a listening post, and a pulse field that stands between us and the Chinese headquarters. We are given access to 2 terminals that help us outfit our character with different weapon loadouts and recruitment markers to build our fire team. The weapon loadouts are basic and resemble your typical FPS formula of a primary weapon, secondary weapon, and sometimes equipment. Unlike the main Fallout 3 game, inventory management is non-existent in Operation Anchorage, as everything you need is handed to you and nothing more, ensuring that it will not over-encumber the player regardless of stats. There's a fire team package with an assault rifle, combat knife, and 12 frag grenades, a close assault package package with the Power Fist 10mm pistol, combat shotgun, 8 frag grenades, and 8 frag mines, a sniper package with a sniper rifle and 10mm pistol, and lastly a heavy weapons package with a missile launcher and 10mm submachine gun. Selecting a package gives you a requisition marker that can be taken to the quartermaster, who swaps your gear for whatever package you choose. The other terminal allows you to piece together your fire team. You are given 5 recruitment markers that can be used to acquire different units to assist you in battle. Each unit has a cost that depends on its size. Simple infantrymen and grenadiers cost just 1 marker. Missile units and snipers cost 2. A Mr. Gutsy robot will cost 3, and a sentry bot will cost 4. The fire team you assemble is better suited to just whatever you feel like looking at as you approach an objective, because in my experience, they are useless and constantly get stuck on their way to do anything worthwhile. But fear not, Benji will be a part of the strike team regardless of who you choose. For me, I went with a sentry bot and a single grenadier for my fire team in the heavy weapons package. Suppose there's anything those commie bastards won't see coming, it would be several thousand pounds of American metal and explosions flying at them before they can shit their pants red, white, and blue. In a rare moment of my character's build coming into play, I convinced the quartermaster to give me something extra for my heroism. He handed me a Gauss rifle in addition to the missile launcher, and made me promise not to tell.
If anyone asks, it fell off a truck.
With everything set, I told Benji that I was ready to go to the Chimera fuel depot to destroy their supplies. In a flash, Benji, the sentry bot, and the grenadier took off at incredible speed towards the objective, leaving me and my big-ass missile launcher in the dust. I took a position just before the first commie guard post to give my missile launcher a chance to stretch its legs, and as per tradition, I completely whiffed the first shot. After many minutes of running around like an idiot, avoiding getting shot and shooting missiles everywhere, there were no more enemies left to turn into sloppy red mist. I pushed forward into more enemy fire and realized that my fire team was not beside me for my glorious triumphs in combat. They stayed behind for no reason, and it was only when I tactically retreated back to them that they decided to join me. And they were just in time to check out these snowmen that someone made. There's a headless one wearing a bow tie, one wearing American combat armor, and another waving the stars and stripes. So let this be a lesson in finding the light in utter darkness. These commies are subject to my unstoppable ass-kicking campaign, and yet they still found time to make these cute little snow dudes. A couple of American soldiers were found captured by Chinese forces, but quickly saved after a slight misunderstanding that involved me shooting them in the face. Operation Anchorage is making little effort to be anything beyond a series of shooting galleries. This sounds harsh, but it feels like someone made a Call of Duty mod for Fallout 3. All you can do is go from point A to point B, shoot a bunch of bullshit in between, and complete the basic objective of kill. I finally reached the fuel depot and found a Chinese Chimera tank guarding its precious food supply. Since my missile launcher had long since tapped out after force-feeding its contents to unsuspecting foes, I used the Gauss rifle to dispatch the menacing Chimera. I set the charges on the fuel tanks, and immediately after, Benji told me what a good job I did blowing things up.
Good to see him out of commission for a while.
And I was teleported back to the American base. Before moving on to the next target, I switched my loadout to the close assault kit to get up close and personal with the unfortunate virtual souls that I'd be sending to the underworld. I held on to the sentry bot because he's my robot friend, and I'm not leaving him to some jerk-ass mechanic to poke and prod at his insides. He's done his country and me an excellent service and shall escort me wherever this ice-covered nonsense takes us. The grenadier is just there. I forgot he was even part of the strike team. An Anchorage memorial can be found in the capital wasteland near Dukov's place, which depicts a group of American soldiers posing heroically to honor the courage and bravery of everyone who sacrificed something in Alaska to defend America. Operation Anchorage includes a nice touch where you can see the photographer taking the picture he used to design the Anchorage Memorial. Out of curiosity, I decided to save scum before going on an unhinged rampage through the US base camp. Self-proclaimed grease monkeys and even T-51B soldiers were no match for my combat shotgun. Surprisingly, Benji and the quartermaster joined me in ravenous bloodshed. They had no hesitation in blasting their comrades. And like Switzerland or Rob Lowe at an NFL game, my strike team remained neutral, offering no helping hand to either side, opting instead to just stand there until someone told them what to do. Eventually, a soldier got a lucky shot on me and ended what I'll just chalk up to be a silly hallucination that we shall not speak of again. I found evidence of General Chase's habits, with several hypodermic psychoneedles being found around his tent. With that mystery solved, hopefully he received the help he needed to overcome his addiction. addiction. I told Benji it was time to head to the listening post. This objective differs from the last one, because instead of going to a location to blow something up, we are going to a location to blow someone up. We took off down another narrow passage, encountering enemy resistance as it gave way to the next area. This is the closest the DLC has felt to offering options in combat. The background is spread out and open enough to allow the player some freedom in their approach. I chose to just run in guns blazing. I picked the close assault kit, and by golly, I'm gonna assault closely. This proved difficult as crispy Rangoon snipers were perched around the arena and were taking shots at me. At the same time, I could only feebly pepper them with shotgun pellets from way too far away. Avoiding them, I took on the missile units instead. They broke all my limbs as I approached them, but thanks to the magical health dispensers, I could shake off multiple rocket explosions and stay in the fight. Being near one of those dispensers makes me effectively invincible, as I am full on health at the press of a button. No cooldown, no cost, and no fuss. I can spend as long as I want trying to pick up the individual microfusion cells sprinkled around the ammo dispensers as crab Rangoons snipe at me. The combat shotgun is a satisfying weapon as far as Fallout 3 goes. It has a punchy metallic sound with each trigger pull. It can easily send crumbs of Rangoon flying in every direction, which is good because the listening post is crawling with them. Literally. They continue to use their stealth to their advantage, but their reaction times are so glacial that I can spot them before they even make themselves known. If you told me they were in the middle of a game of hide and seek when I arrived, I would have to believe you because they were so woefully unprepared for combat. Doubly so when I ran out of shotgun ammo and had to resort to power fisting. To be fair, I don't want to meet the warrior who is prepared to see, pardon my French toast, sprinting at them full speed in a flurry of hydraulic assisted punches. With the fuel depot and listening post defeated, we can now turn our sights to the final objective, the pulse field preventing our advance on the Chinese HQ. I changed my loadout to the fireteam package to get the last bit of variety out of this DLC. I watched a US Army soldier do sit-ups while staring directly into my eyes. We stepped into a river of trenches being leveled by artillery fire. It's more of the same really, more extremely tight hallways filled with identical enemies. The DLC takes place conveniently in a frozen hellscape, allowing the developers to have an excuse for covering everyone's face, and I cannot imagine what they would have come up with for modeling the enemy soldiers. It could also be a commentary on how the military is embedding the mindset in its servicemen that the enemy is a bunch of inhuman, faceless drones that should not be empathized with, or just convenient laziness. More trenches and linear paths lead to more trenches and linear paths. We continue to mow down wave after wave of enemy fodder. I got bored of the assault rifle at one point and switched to the trench knife for some slicing and dicing. It worked fine, but I got bored of that too, and decided to finish the fight by finally using the dozens of grenades I'd collected throughout the battle. I tried to fit a grenade into the opening of one of the bunkers and somehow threaded the needle. With the pulse field disabled, we are now able to enter the Chinese compound and liberate Anchorage from the communist occupiers. I thought this would all culminate in an epic, prolonged battle that would be the explosive climax to everything we've done to get here. Instead, I convinced the Chinese general to just knock it off. He agreed and took his own life. General Chase took a break from his debilitating psycho addiction to tell me what a good boy I've been, and that the training program is complete. Anchorage has been saved. Exiting the simulation, I am greeted again by the outcast warm and friendly faces. They tell me the armory is now unlocked and I can take whatever I want from it. Inside is all the cool stuff featured in the simulation, including the winterized T-51B power armor, Gauss rifle, Chinese stealth suit, and the Chinese general's electric sword. Some outcasts were unhappy that I was allowed to take their stuff, so they staged a mutiny against their leader. Violence broke out while I pocketed the shiny objects in the armory. The only survivor was Specialist Olin, who seemed unfazed following the complete upheaval of their entire operation.
Good to see you again.
She offers to repair my equipment for a fee, otherwise the DLC is now done and there's nothing left to do. All I can do is take my stuff, return to the wasteland, and go about my business. If your character still needs to get the power armor training perk, it is granted upon completion of Operation Anchorage, so that sweet T-51B is ready for use right away. And that's it, that's the entire DLC. It's short, forgettable, and linear to a fault. While it does provide a unique experience to Fallout 3, it's an experience that I don't know if anyone asked for. Forcing players to endure the worst part of the game, the shooting mechanics, through an environment entirely on rails was a decision that I can't believe Bethesda thought would be best for their open world role-playing game, where exploration, choice and consequence, and storytelling reign supreme. The rewards for completing it are definitely worth the trouble though. The Chinese stealth suit is a must for any character focused on sneaking. The winterized T-51B is basically unbreakable and ridiculously strong, and the Gauss rifle is a joy to use, especially with its insane knockback effect. So all that being said, I think this is easily the weakest expansion brought to Fallout 3. Thankfully, the next one, The Pit, is exactly what players would expect from a piece of content to build on what made the base game so great. We'll talk about that in the following video, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button to let me know. And if you want to see more of it, subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified. In the comments below, tell me how wrong and dumb I am about Fallout 3's first DLC, Operation Anchorage. And remember that you are worth it. I hope you can find the people, things, and activities around you that make you happy, healthy, and kind. Your darkest moments don't define you, and there's always a tomorrow. I'll catch you next time, and have a nice day.